All right, boys, we're back on the trail. Just breathe, man. Just breathe. So we had our first night of proper like sub-zero temperature and a bit of snowfall, and the environment's changed as a result. Right now, no wind, completely still. Here's some birds, and the interesting thing is, I can hear what I think is ice melting on the top of these trees because the sun is now hitting them, and the droplets just hit the ground every now and then. Something I haven't experienced here before. And also, you could probably hear me if I step around. The foliage, the twigs, leaves, and everything, they have a bit of a covering of ice on them, and so my steps they have an extra crack to them. Very nice, very nice. Oh, and yesterday I was saying I made a tour of this whole trail, and I was saying how happy I am that there's never any people on the trail. And lo and behold, this morning, it's around 11, there was someone here walking their dogs. So I guess even that's gonna change. But it's all right. It's cool. He had two dogs, two golden retrievers, and got to pet the dogs. So that's nice. No complaints. Didn't have it in me to strike up a conversation with the guy though. Looked like a friendly guy. He, I think he was a hunter or something. He had one of those reflector vests. And yeah, that's the morning. I just had to get the fuck out of the house this morning. I was doing, early in the morning, I logged onto my computer, my workstation, my wagey station. And, I do the usual. I look at my emails and prep my project work and software and this and that. And it took me maybe like 10, 15 minutes to start getting really frustrated with it. Like my software wasn't doing what it's supposed to, and things are not working. There's some kind of connection issues, and then you're supposed to solve a captcha or something, and I'm like, fucking god damn it. And it's been like 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, fuck. And then I just look out the window. I can see the sparkle from the fresh snow, hitting me, and I'm like, the contrast of leaving the apartment and just coming straight here is like instant anxiety relief. And it just got me thinking in general about this feeling of anxiety. What the hell is it exactly? It's a funny thing to be asking, considering I'm in my mid-30s now, and certainly for the entirety of my goddamn adult life, my so-called adult life, I've been inflicted by this vague sense of unease that we call anxiety. Even earlier than that, like it started when I was a teenager. It's like, yep, one day it just kind of clicked in, and now you just have this, and it seems to be that and I'm not the only one inflicted with this, obviously. So it seems to be a thing in the general population. Everybody's is afflicted by this sense of anxiety, and it affects their behavior in sort of subtle and not so subtle ways. They're never relaxed. Everybody speaks very fast. Everybody's always in a rush. Just shit like that. And certainly it affects your ability to think about anything. You can't think if you're constantly in an anxious state, you know. But it's a funny question, yeah, because I'm like mid-30s, and considering the amount of time this has gone on, I've just never quite figured it out. What is it? Because it's, it's something that people might confuse with other pervasive sort of mental health issues, such as depression. But that's not quite the same thing, or even things that are worse. I've experienced a lot of really negative sort of mental phenomena in my life. depression being one of them, major depression, and then suicidal ideation even, and all kinds of exciting kind of crazy things. I think I've even experienced something close to ego death, although that's another video in and of itself. I've experienced that without taking any drugs, mind you. So you're like, whoa, but all these things, they have like all these other things, they seem to have they have a shape, they have a better definition, and you can kind of pinpoint roughly, when these things begin and end, and like these major depressive episodes and this kind of thing. And generally there's, at least in my case, like most of those things I've left behind and I've kind of dealt with them and I know how to deal with. But anxiety, it's like, because it's not an intense emotion, again, it's like this vague sense of unease, about what exactly? Like, it's always there, but it's not like an intense emotion. And I think we've gotten to a point now where the sense of anxiety, it's almost like it's become a baseline, meaning that it's so common, it's so pervasive, and people are never free from it. They sort of slowly perhaps begin to think that this is the baseline for mental health. Just like a lot of people who actually have like terrible physical health, they're lethargic and tired and they got aches and they don't have any of that physical energy to them because they've been like that so long, because of the way the world is. It becomes the baseline, it's the baseline to be groggy in the morning, and it's like the baseline to not have a spring in your step ever, you're just always this fucking loafing around. What's the expression? And so in general, people's baseline for both mental and physical health, I think, has been lowered to an insane degree, and I think this is why anxiety kind of escapes people's notice, even because that's how it is. That's how I'm supposed to be. Yeah, one of those water droplets just came down. So you're even, if you think that's the baseline, you'll basically walk around and just be like, yeah, what's the problem? And the evil thing about it is that you won't even have a perception of what could be. You know what I mean? If this is all you ever knew, or this is all you've ever known for like 20 years, you might just lose track of what's possible for your mind. Because you're just in the matrix constantly. You need a comparison point, And the good news is, trails like this, little pockets of nature, are readily available. All right, but you really got to embrace them. You really got to go without your devices. Like, I have my phone with me usually, but I don't use it. Generally, it's on airplane mode. You just got to embrace these places to get that comparison moment. Another good way to do it is to try certain drugs, nootropics, supplements even. Some of them do these things that at least get you thinking on the right track. You see, because the problem with things like glycine or like phenibut or any of these things, which I've tried, they're very effective at just eradicating anxiety, putting you at ease. And yet, of course, obviously, then there's the danger of addiction. They work like almost too well, so it's like you want to smash that kind of stuff all the time. So, and then you just create another type of dependence. And of course, this is the story of antidepressants. If they work at all, like, I think they don't really have the same effect at all. They end up just numbing you, basically, numbing you to life. And instead of, you just get like deadened, But my point is, if you do try some of these things every now and then, which I did recently, I took some phenibut, you just see, at least for that moment, for that day, that what your mind is capable of. So now it's a question of how do we alter our natural perception and our natural sort of chemical balance in our brains to get us to this result in our daily life. you know, and it's a very complex question. Like, I'm aware there's a lot of variables and stuff, but a lot of people, they just wouldn't even have an awareness of your mind being malleable like that, you know. So I would imagine this is one of those main benefits of altered states of consciousness in general, however you get to them. And if you have to use something like an intervention, like a psychedelic or a nootropic or something like that, then there's nothing wrong with that, so long as you don't end up being sort of dependent on those things, right? But just this moment of comparison, and you see, I had this moment of comparison just this morning without any drugs or nothing, just by firstly logging into my wages station and being tortured by the absolute onslaught of information that presented me. By less than an hour, getting completely fed up with it, starting to feel like the four walls that I'm between in the house is a prison, and I gotta get out immediately. And then I'm lucky enough to have this trail right next to my house. I come here and I experience nothing less but an altered state of consciousness pretty much immediately. I can't say that my anxiety has left me completely, but considerably reduced just by stepping out here. And if you're one of these people that because you got to be productive, you got to live your life, you got to do things, and you're gonna end up feeling like guilty or something. Oh, well, what are you gonna do? You're gonna walk on trails all day, not do anything, be unproductive. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. You see, sitting behind your wages station between four walls, that's the abnormal thing. That's the thing that is a necessity, unfortunately, and you have to do it in some capacity. But that is the thing that's the abnormal activity. Whereas this, just sitting here, doing nothing, this ought to be the default. You ought to measure your life, based on how much you can spend time here, how much you can be unproductive here without any guilt or feelings of anxiety or anything, as opposed to measuring it by these other means, the means we know. So I'll be sure to come back probably several times today.